You are listening to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond with Dr. Deb Butler. This is episode number 244. Don't throw your mind out just because it's the holidays. Welcome to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. If you're a woman and you're smart and you're successful and you've been struggling with weight your whole life and now menopause is making it harder than ever, and you are ready to make this the last time you ever have to go on a diet again, then this podcast is for you. Stay tuned. Hi, all my dear friends. How are you today? We're getting closer and closer to the holidays, whatever holidays it is that you celebrate. But what I want to talk about today is the idea that I remember when I was in my yo-yo stage of dieting for 30 years, that when the holidays came, one of the things that I did was basically I threw my mind out the window. I decided that I'm not going to pay attention to anything that's going on when it comes to what I'm putting in my mouth. I would say to myself, it's the holidays. I can do what I want. I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. As if I was giving myself this hall pass for the holidays. Like I was giving myself this gift. And of course, this gift that I thought I was giving to myself, I gave to myself for 30 years and ended up getting the exact same result of gaining and losing weight forever. One of the ways that I stop that, I was really thinking about this. One of the ways that I stop that is what I want to talk to you about today. And that is this. You have a mind. You have a mind that when you use it, it can become very, very aware of everything that's going on around you. And to throw it out the window is really not a very smart thing. For you being such a smart woman is not a very smart thing to do if you're really wanting to take care of yourself and you're really wanting to make changes for yourself that you think will be lasting. So here's what I was thinking for this holiday season for you. I want you to keep your mind intact. I want you to be able to use it every single time you sit down to eat. I do not want you to throw it out and say, I'm not going to pay attention. I want you to make the decision that no matter what, you are going to pay attention because you matter and because this is the beginning. It's not the new year yet, but let's just decide that how you use these holidays, and I really want you to think about this, how you use the holidays, because I created a whole group class on this right now that's going on about how to use the holidays to end this insanity, not to continue the insanity of gaining and losing weight, of, I can just eat whatever I want and I'm not going to pay attention to anything, to I'm not going to eat anything I want and I'm going to pay close attention to what it feels like to restrict and deprive myself. That's what you've been doing. That's what I did. And what I'm inviting you to do starting today is to stop it. And the best way to stop it is to keep your mind intact and let it become a tool for you. And the way you do that is very, very simple. And you've heard me say this many, many times, but I'm going to say it again. When you sit down to eat, I just want you to ask yourself this simple question. I want you to use your mind to become aware of what's going on in your body by simply saying to yourself, how hungry am I? And you know that in my podcast companion book that you can get for free by going to drdebbutler.com/change, I have this physical hunger scale and this emotional hunger scale that I use for everything that I talk about in my podcast. And this physical hunger scale basically goes from a -10 to a +10. And I know a lot of you have heard this before, so I'm not going to repeat the whole thing. But you know that I'm asking you to be able to eat not when you're starving, but when it's the beginning of feeling hungry. We call it a -2. And when you're at the beginning of that whisper of feeling like you're hungry is when you want to sit down to eat. Now, you're going to have to use your mind to connect to your body to figure out what this is. What you might want to do, or what you might have done in the past, I know what I have done in the past, is I used my mind to say, well, I'm not going to talk to you for a while. I'm just going to not pay attention. I'm going to pretend like I'm not here. You go ahead and do whatever you want with your body. I won't connect to your body and I won't tell you what's going on. I'm going to just disconnect. And that disconnection has led to so many problems for you and for me. And you actually have this season to say, no matter what, I'm going to stay connected. No matter what I see, I'm going to stay connected. So you're going to start with the main idea of the physical hunger scale, of eating when you're hungry and stopping when you're full. How hungry am I? Just think about what that number might be for you. Are you a little hungry? Are you a lot hungry? Are you really, really hungry? And then put a number to it. And whatever that number is, don't question it over and over and over again. Is this right? Is this right? I think it's wrong. I'm not sure. That's just going to keep you in confusion. And when you're confused, guess what? You just tell yourself you don't know and you don't do it. So instead of that, you just pick a number and say, this is what I think it is. And then you eat and you keep your mind connected into your body as you start filling up your stomach. And this is the beautiful thing about this mind-body connection, is that when you're filling up your stomach, you can feel it if your mind and your body are connected, which you were wired to be that way. So it's really not that difficult. It's much more difficult to disconnect, but it's such a learned behavior that you think that it's natural when the most natural thing is to stay connected. And there comes a point in your stomach where your stomach basically says to your mind, okay, we're done. And that, okay, we're done is really, I like to call it like a +2. And a +2 is the slight whisper of fullness. And of course, the hunger scale goes to a +10, so there's plenty of room to keep eating. But there is the signal that goes into your body, and it really is this physiological process that I'm not going to go into, but it really is. There's all of these signs that go on that tell you to stop. So what you're doing is just starting to pay attention to those signs. When do I eat? When do I stop? Now, I have done 244 podcasts. I have done 4 years of podcasts, and I have not changed my message one iota of what I'm saying to you now. And I know that you've heard this before, unless this is your first podcast. And if it is, listen up, because you can change everything with this podcast if you listen and do what I say, which is what I tell my clients all the time. What I tell all my clients that are in my group, just do what I tell you to do. What I'm telling you to do right now is to start connecting into your body, using your mind awareness to how hungry you are and how full you are. And if you overeat, you're going to make note of that. And you're going to become more aware of that. That's all I'm asking you to do at this point. You don't have to beat yourself up. You don't have to do anything other than go, that was a +4. I could have eaten less. I really noticed that. That's curious. I wonder why I did that. So you start using a little bit more curiosity, which is another step that I think will help you become more mindfully connected. Is that when you see, I eat when I'm hungry, I stop when I'm full, I notice the numbers. And then when you notice that the number is over a +2, you just become curious about why that just happened. You don't get upset with yourself. You don't go, you'll never learn this. You don't go, oh my gosh, I don't know. I'm not even sure if that's what it was. You don't go into confusion. You just wonder what was going on. Now, when I'm working with my clients in groups or individually, one of the things I always ask is, well, what do you think just happened? And there's lots of responses, but I'm going to give you some of the most common responses to why people go beyond a +2. And it's thoughts like this. It was so delicious, I couldn't stop. Or somebody was serving me and I had to eat everything on my plate because I didn't want to hurt their feelings. Or somebody gave it to me and I had to eat it. And I could go on, but it's these kind of thoughts that are in your mind. Now, when you use awareness, when you use your mind to watch this stuff. You will start seeing it because you're paying attention. You did not throw your mind out the window. You're keeping it, right? Because when you throw your mind out the window, it's just a thought that says, I'm not going to pay attention anymore because I am giving myself the gift of stuffing myself for the holidays. Seriously, that's what you're saying to yourself. You think you're rewarding yourself. You think you're gifting yourself, and you're not. And what I'm asking you to do is give yourself this real gift during the holidays. Like here you are, you're going out and probably getting gifts for other people, I'm sure, probably. And what I'm saying to you now is I want you to think about giving yourself this gift of staying aware and using your mind in the holidays to eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full, and then wonder if you ate more than you needed, you went beyond a +2, you become curious as to why, and you start noticing what the thoughts are that are creating that urge to overeat. Now, I'm talking about urges now, which is the other thing I want you to become aware of during the holidays as you learn to use your mind to help you. Is that when you overeat, you usually overeat because you're thinking something. And you're thinking something like what I just told you, that it's delicious, I'll never have it again, so-and-so will hate me if I don't finish it, something like that. Or you're just saying to yourself, it doesn't matter, it's the holidays, I can do whatever I want, I've been a good girl for whatever you think you've been a good. You know how many of my clients tell me they were good yesterday, or they were good last week, or they were good last year, or they were something about being good. And because they've been good, now they can do this. It's crazy. It's insane. Don't use the holidays to keep that up. Use the holidays to stop that nonsense. So here's the fourth thing that I want you to think about. I think it's the fourth thing. I'm not sure. But the other thing that I wanted you to really listen and think about is that when you think a thought about how delicious this is or how you're never going to have it again, that's what creates the emotional hunger scale that makes you want to continue to eat when your physical body, your physical hunger scale has told you to stop. So your body says stop, and then your mind says, but it's so good. And when it's so good, it creates this negative emotion. We call it the emotional hunger scale. And it's negative emotion. It's a hole that you're starting to fill, and we call it an urge. And an urge is as simple as something that you feel in your body that is associated with something that you're thinking. And I think that if you use your mindfulness, if you use your awareness that this is going on, you can start putting a number on your emotional hunger scale that's an urge. And I've never gone over this in a podcast before, but I think if I could explain it to you and you could make sense of this, this would be amazing for you during the holidays if you can just figure out how strong this urge is. Because this is what I've learned from my clients over the years, is that when your urge is really strong, which means it's a negative number. Now, your urges go from 0 to -10, just like your physical hunger goes from a 0 to a -10. Your emotional hunger or your urges go from a 0 to a -10. So when you're eating something and you know your body is saying stop because you have this mindfulness and you have this awareness, you know it. But your mind wants to overrun it by saying it's way too delicious. It's way too good. I don't want to leave any food on my plate. It creates a hole to fill up. That's an urge. It's a negative emotional hunger scale number. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to think about how strong it is. So what I've done with you so far is I've asked you to put a number on your physical hunger scale of when you eat, and I've asked you to put a number on when you're full. Negative number is when you're hungry. A plus number is when you're full. Now, when you know you're going beyond a +2, now we're looking at the emotional hunger scale and how strong it is. So when you're eating something and your mind says, it's just yum, 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 yum. This is so good. I don't know when we're going to eat this again. How strong is that for you? How bad do you want it? A -10 means it's so strong, it's going to blow your head off. And a -1 means it's really light. I could take it or leave it. Like if I was aware of it, I probably could just stop. And I could just say to myself, it's not that good. Or I could say to myself, just because it's good doesn't mean I have to eat it. So you could just start thinking like that. You can start managing your thoughts depending on how strong the urges are. So when that urge is a -1 with this is so delicious, it's pretty light. Those are the ones that you're going to be able to handle the easiest. Those are the ones that I'm going to invite you to start becoming mindfully aware of them during these holidays. This is what I found, that when your urges are between a 0 and a -5, they're going to be easier to manage than from a -5 to a -10. So once you start becoming aware of how strong these urges are, and you put numbers on them, then you may be able to talk to yourself. We call it mindfully managing your urges. So you have a thought that creates an urge as this is so delicious. What you believed your whole life is that when you've told yourself something is delicious, you should keep eating it. And now what you're doing is you're noticing that that thought creates an urge. And that urge is just a -3. It's not real strong. I don't feel it real strong in my body. And you may be able to go and say to yourself, oh yeah, just because it tastes good doesn't mean I have to eat it. And you may be able to go through and allow that urge to go through without giving into it. Best gift ever for the holidays. I'm inviting you to use it not after the holidays, starting today through the holidays. And if you get good at managing these lower urges, 0s to -5s, you're going to start getting better at noticing the stronger urges that are over a -5, and you're going to start building up this muscle of how to allow urges to go through your body. And I will tell you what, it is gold when you can do it. Because when you can allow an urge to go through and notice it and feel it and not give into it, you are doing something to your brain that is unbelievable. You're creating new neural pathways. You are changing your brain. The more you do it, the more you change your brain, the more you create these neural pathways, which are like little roadways. So in the beginning, when you think just because it's delicious doesn't mean I have to eat it, which is a new neural pathway, it's a new road that you're making in your brain. It's bumpy. It's got a lot of holes in it, right? That's why you can't do a -10. But a bumpy hole -2, you kind of might be able to manage it and say to yourself, creating your new neural pathway, just because it tastes good doesn't mean I have to eat it. The more you use that thought, the more you create this new road that can become a superhighway that's just because it's delicious does not mean I have to eat it. And it could end up stronger in the end and work for you as opposed to this old thought that you had that it's so delicious, of course I eat it. And that's called changing your brain. That's neuroplasticity. That's the gift I'm asking you to give yourself this holiday season. So I think what I'm telling you is really powerful, and I really want you to consider these things. That for the rest of this holiday season, you are going to keep your mind intact. You are going to eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full, and you are going to notice what those numbers are. Then you're going to notice that what those thoughts are that create the urge to go beyond a +2. You're going to start noticing those thoughts because you're using your mind. You're not going to punish yourself. You're not going to beat yourself up. You're going to become curious about what those thoughts are. Once you become aware of what those thoughts are that create the urge to want to go beyond a +2, which is probably what it's been doing to you for years, and now you're starting to notice it, then you're going to start looking at the thoughts that create the urges, and you're going to start putting a number on the urges from a 0 to a -10. And you are going to know that anything under a -5 is going to be manageable by you to do now. You're going to start practicing and you're going to really start changing your brain. So by the time the new year comes, your brain is going to be different. There's no New Year resolutions. You're doing it now. That's what I'm inviting you to do for this holiday season, is give yourself the gift of keeping your mind intact during the holidays and staying connected to your body. I can't think of anything better that you would want to do for yourself. So you've got work to do this week. And you know what else you have to do this week, because you always have to, because I always tell you to do it, and I know that you do whatever I tell you to do. But anyway, you know what I'm going to say. Please, please, please be very, very, very kind to yourself, and I'll see you next week. If you're loving my podcast and you would like some more information to be able to follow along with, then please go to drdebbutler.com/change, and you can get a free copy of my companion book that goes with this podcast that I refer to in many different episodes. That is drdebbutler.com/change, CHANGE.